Dr. Sherry McCallister, right? Foundation for
Correct.
Chiropractic Progress. So yeah, the intention of this phone call or this conversation is really just to build context for the pre-Chiro student of what the foundation aims to offer the profession, what types of projects that chiropractic students are maybe involved with the foundation, and also just your life and practice and any advice that you could give to somebody considering this path. Does that sound okay? Does that sound like
That sounds fantastic. And just one question. My son, it's 6 a.m. right now for me.
Yeah.
My son has an SAT that I'm hoping if we could be done by 10 minutes to the hour, or even 5 minutes, that would be awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no,
Okay.
this is gonna be fun. Yeah, I'll just be asking you some questions. So, why don't we just get started by me just let's do this. So, Dr. Ben again with another meaningful conversation for any pre-Chiro student out there looking to explore the profession and the different resources available to you, and also the different pathways that are available. Today we have Dr. Sherry McCallister with the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. Dr. Sherry, can we just get started by you introducing yourself, sharing a little bit about your background before you became a chiropractor, what you were up to, and what attracted you to this profession?
Well, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on this show today. It's a pleasure and an honor to speak to someone who's thinking about chiropractic. I'm Dr. Sherry McCallister. I'm the president of the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. And before I decided to come into chiropractic, I was actually doing research, and I was in a program in cellular molecular microbial biology, and I never even thought of going into chiropractic. It was a motor vehicle accident that caused a complete shift in my healthcare, and I had extremely bad headaches for 8 months. And after that car accident, looking into the microscope was just absolutely unbearable. So as time went on, I went to special studies and to see if there was something that was physiologically impaired for me to have such bad headaches. And the primary care physician, who was doing the best he could, would say, are you exercising? And are you drinking lots of water? All the things that you would normally want to say to someone that's having headaches. And I did everything. And if that didn't work, I'd do it even more. So if they said, do 30 reps of this, I'd be into 60 or 90. And the medications were unfortunately really difficult to take. They would upset my stomach, and the fatigue that they brought is not conducive to studying. So it was a lose-lose all the way around. And I was extraordinarily fortunate to have a classmate that slid me a chiropractor's card in one of our physics class. And I just kind of looked at him dumbfounded, because I thought, after 8 months, if no one has referred me to a chiropractor, it either doesn't work, or, it's off the beaten path, and I'm not sure I want to go there. And then the next day came around, and he said, did you see the chiropractor yet? And I said, no, I'm really apprehensive. And he said, what do you have to lose? You've tried everything. And I thought, that was the unfortunate place I was at. It was the last recommendation given to me. And I feel almost embarrassed at this point, after being a chiropractor for so long, thinking back to that moment, thinking, what could this possibly offer me? My arms were crossed. I was totally against going. And he said, you're nervous, aren't you? And I said, I'm just actually not really nervous as much as I am skeptical that this is going to be helpful, because if it was going to be, someone would have referred me right off the bat. And he said, well, let's go over your x-rays. And at that point, no one had ever gone over my x-rays with me. I've never seen a special study. The best time I had with the physician in communication was to talk about the symptoms that the medication was causing me. So at no point did anyone ever slow down and say, this is what's wrong with you. And it was, as much as I want to be embarrassed by how I treated the chiropractor with such skepticism, it was the first time that anyone had actually took the time to walk me through my diagnosis, and I walked out of there without a headache. And I say that because I was 100% against this is not going to work. And when I walked out, I thought, embarrassingly now, that was just a fluke. Like there's no way that I'm going to be continue to have a headache free life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never talked to anyone about my low back pain because my headaches were so bad. And the next time I saw him, I said, the headaches haven't come back. And he goes, are you surprised? And I was. The low back pain gone after 3 visits with him. And I wasn't even going to mention that because I'm not someone that wants to, focus on pain. I figured it would go away, but it was nagging after the car accident. And I just feel truly blessed now looking back that that happened because it changed completely the course of my life. And it was absolutely the best experience a person could have in a odd sense because I could not have been happier having chosen this career. And there hasn't been literally a day that's gone by that I've ever thought, wow, I wish I had to become X, Y, or Z. This has been a phenomenal experience. And the major opportunities to heal someone with your hands and not give them a medication is you have to experience it to know that laying your hands on someone and helping them heal is extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. So can you just take the prospective student through the process of becoming a chiropractor, just using your own story? How did you prepare for school? Where did you choose to go to school? What was that transition like going into the profession?
Sure. Well, the very first moment that I decided to be a chiropractor, and I really was kind of the shadow of the chiropractor that just healed my headaches. So I asked a lot of questions first with the chiropractor that I was with, because I thought as a mentor and someone who clearly knew what he was doing, I would love to hear more about what his experience was. And he directed me to look at the colleges in the United States because I was Canadian at the time. And he said that they're very strong in their philosophy. And the one that he went to was Palmer College. And that is what he had told me, that the foundation of chiropractic was built on D.D. Palmer. And so I looked across the board and saw the variations on where they were located and what they were offering. And as I started preparing for chiropractic college, the first thing that he had noted to me was anatomy is very important. Anatomy to him was like learning English in the dictionary. It's your first base of how to communicate appropriately with other healthcare providers. So the better your anatomy, the better you're going to be. So I immediately started taking anatomy courses. And because I was in cellular molecular microbial biology, I didn't have a true background on Latin or anatomy. And that was a big learning curve. And I think going back, if I had to do it all over, I would have taken a lot more of the human biology courses before I entered into chiropractic college, because it really does, as you reflect after so many years in this profession on the things that would have helped you, getting a jump start on understanding the kinematics of the human frame and the anatomy and the physiology that goes with it is an immense opportunity for success. Mm-hmm. And so choosing the college was actually by choice with my dad. Is he said, look, I see all the colleges. I definitely have lived in Canada on the east side and it's cold. He said, so you could go there if you chose, but he said, if you're going to spend 4 years of your life studying, why don't you go where the palm trees are and experience a whole new way of life instead of being where I was in the frozen tundra. And I thought, well, that does make a lot of sense. So I chose Palmer West, which is in San Jose, California. Absolutely gorgeous area. And I just never left. So I can tell you it was a masterful decision. And it seemed at the time just kind of laissez-faire, but I'm so glad that I chose Palmer West because it offered me three things that I was looking for. One was a foundation of chiropractic, which D.D. Palmer started and his son B.J. Palmer continued. It had a sports flair, which I was very much a part of, wanting to be very active, and the surroundings didn't hurt. 4 hours to the mountains to ski, and an hour to the ocean to watch the waves or surf. So it was a win-win all the way around.
Hmm. Can you talk about your experience there? What were the things that you were particularly attracted to? Did you get involved in the sports council? Like, where were you engaged the most? Like, what was it about when you reflect on chiropractic school? What was it like for you? Like, what was maybe some surprises or challenges that you had faced, and what were you particularly interested in?
Well, Dr. Ben, it started with the opportunity to work in the biology lab and set up the lab work. And when I first got there, I thought I wanted to be active because I'm away from home, and I knew for me I was going to be homesick. And the first thing that I wanted to really engage in is just being active on campus. And that was a really good decision because for those of you who had never gone away before, being active and being around your friends and making new friends is a big part of college life. So I started in the microbiology lab and biology lab setups for labs, and I met quite a few people in that process. And then I moved from there in jobs to working in the library, which is even better because now I'm surrounded by the materials. I got to read and be part of book the back end of the book. So you had to check out books. Well, they were right there for me while I was waiting for people to check out. So I had access to everything. It was a fabulous job.
Mhm.
And as far as being in school, some of the things that really made a difference, I started with the Associated Student Body, and I became the president of the ASG. And that helped to make college life even better because I was part of the solution. There were things that I wanted to experience, and we brought them to campus. And so I got to talk to my classmates, consider what would make their college life even better. And having that experience in leadership role was remarkable. One of the experiences that I recall that really did shape my chiropractic degree in school was being able to do a transposition from Palmer West to Palmer. So presidents switched schools, the Associated Student Body, and being at Palmer with their Associated Student Government was enlightening because while the campuses are very much the same in what they offer, the environment is very different. And I love going to Palmer Davenport because it's so rich in the entire chiropractic profession. And as a very eclectic individual, Dee Dee and BJ Palmer have a museum, and they were very fortunate and clearly made a very good living because he has things from all over the world. And the museum is chocked full of spines. And it's very eye-opening to see how BJ and Dee Dee saw chiropractic through the eyes of human skeletons, and the foundation and the brick and the history and the people. I would say, if you become a chiropractor, which we hope you do, you have to be on the foundations ground of the start of chiropractic just to see the history and the richness. I would think it would probably be much like being on an Ivy League school grounds like Harvard or Stanford, and feeling that rich environment of history and people that have come before you.
Mhm. Can you talk about your involvement with the foundation? Like, what's going on with the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress? When I hear that term said, I think, okay, how is chiropractic progressing? First of all, because we can define it in so many ways. Chiropractic is a very diverse profession. Can you talk about some of the ways that the foundation aims to progress the chiropractic profession?
Well, Dr. Ben, this is an outstanding question because this year is our epic year. Last year, we celebrated 125 years of chiropractic success. And I say that because we have come a long way. A lot of our fellow colleagues ended up in jail for practicing medicine without a license. So we have to be very proud that we persisted and we were consistent with a message that made sense, which is the human frame, given the right environment, will heal itself. And those words could never be more true than during an epidemic of opioid use. We are not part of that problem. We are part of that solution. And when the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress, to which I'm the president of, started in 2015 to really take on the opioid epidemic, how do we help people that are in chronic pain, that are having abuse, misuse, or just simply use of an opioid, and they're trying to get help for their chronic pain? Now, remember back when I started, I was in chronic pain. And I'm so grateful that chiropractic came in my life because I could have been one of those people that lost their lives with opioid use because it starts down a road that can be extraordinarily frightening. And for those that can manage using opioids, it's because they're with their doctor and they're carefully monitoring their opioid usage. But for many, it can lead to not getting the next dosage, and then they go to the illicit use. And that's frightening because you really don't know what you're going to get.
Mm.
So chiropractic is being focused on the non-pharmacological care, and the foundation is all about ensuring the education of the national at the national level to help not only consumers find their way to chiropractic, but an interesting aspect was at the beginning of this year, there was a study that came out on concordant care following the guidelines to non-pharmacological options first. What they found was very frightening is the people that are coming with acute low back pain to their primary medical physician, the primary medical physician is not following the guidelines 30% of the time. That means that instead of someone going from acute to no longer having back pain, they risk going into the chronic zone because the guidelines are not followed. And why the guidelines are so important is we want patients to be able to have mobility, flexibility, and stability in when they're injured. And when you leave that, it's just like a cavity. It doesn't get better over time if you just leave it alone. It'll become worse over time. So chiropractic in the foundation has made a point of ensuring that information is being properly adopted, whether that's at the medical level in trying to get more, even medical students to learn about non-pharmacological options for their patients that they're going to see, as well as healthcare practitioners like nurse practitioners who are phenomenal in their job, and they don't want to see their patients stuck on a medication if they don't have to, or it's coming right down to the consumer level and being able to talk really functionally with that consumer so they can understand what the options are and how to help themselves. The best part of the foundation right now is actually we're on a campaign of optimizing health. And instead of focusing on pain, which is very important because anywhere from 70 to 100 million people are suffering with chronic pain, the foundation has now set another goal, which is optimize your own healthcare. And this year, we have a 30-second commercial with a true story of a chiropractor that was an Olympian first, was injured, and found herself back to competition in 3 days thanks to the chiropractor when she was told, it's not going to happen, you're not going to be able to compete. And I love the story because it's so rich in how we all have these adverse moments and we think all hope is lost. And there out of nowhere comes the shining light. And we're hoping that we can share that commercial in the Olympics so the people that have lost that shining bright light will find hope again. And if they are an athlete, they will want to find optimum performance through chiropractic care. So it's an epic moment for the profession because it's never been done. And I think one of the greatest opportunities when you talk about progress is education. And that's where the foundation is really putting its time, talent, and treasures into.
Mm. So, in the context of education, it sounds like the commercial is going to serve to kind of open people's eyes that chiropractic can help them beyond pain, can help them function more optimally. What about the education of our students? I'm curious because one of the premises of pre-chiro, from my perspective, is that if we can position pre-chiro in front of pre-med students, that it will be beneficial, even if they decide not to become chiropractors. They'll get introduced to the chiropractic approach and they'll get more understanding as to what chiropractors do, why send somebody to a chiropractor. What do you think about investing some time and energy into really promoting pre-chiropractic on our college, university environment, and then also maybe even in the high schools?
Well, that's actually where I'd hope I would have learned about chiropractic was through in my high school and having a career counselor that gave options. Basically, the options I was giving is you could go to research, you could go to medicine. And I think back and really contemplate how sad it is that I had that experience because the world is your oyster and you need to investigate. So it's on the student first and foremost to do their investigating on what are the different healthcare professional options for you. And then thinking through what do you want to do? Do you want to be more involved in emergency care or do you want to be more involved in the health of the individual, meaning less drugs or no drugs, and then choosing professions from there. The aspect in high school of the human frame is very important. I think it could not be underestimated if you were to be more proactive, especially in high school when I know the teenagers are vaping and they don't quite see the relevancy of the fine almost fragile tissue in the lungs that are imposed to toxins, and also being more active in helping them be athletic, or if they aren't really that athletically inclined, but just getting the movement in and the understanding of stretching and how to train. If you want to be in weight lifting, for example, or running, how to train so you're not training for injury, you're training for success. That's another big thing that the high schools should be really focusing on is maximizing their understanding of kinematics and stretching, and also the one piece that was missed for me during my training was how do you recover properly? And what does the body need to recover? Both nutrition, hydration, sleep, multivitamins, all of those things can play an active role in recovery, yet I was not taught those until I got into chiropractic school. So I think from looking back and seeing in the high school, that was one step in it. And then also, like you said, how do we get people more aware of their health and well-being while they're studying in college, and not minimizing the impact that meditation can have, yoga in stability and balance, and other forms of martial arts that can really bring the focus back, but also recognizing that as a community, we have a job to do on keeping our bodies healthy, and nutrition plays a major role in that. And I'm very grateful that chiropractic brings all of that together in their education on nutrition and proper biomechanics, ergonomically as well, because people are sleeping wrong. They're watching television with their heads down. Worst case scenario, you're seeing people walk around with their cell phone in their hand looking down. All these things play a major role, and how to optimize your own health is to learn as much as you can.
Mhm. Just being in a position of power, you saying that you're a president of a foundation. I believe foundations are designed to really fund projects that have been prioritized by the party that they aim to serve. Obviously, you're developing this commercial. is there funding available for projects like pre-Chiro if presented properly to try and really establish and build infrastructure so that we can reach those high school and college students? Because I think that's something that I recognize as being a bit of a challenge with this project. Is it's a huge project. It requires a staff. It requires a team of people that are building materials to give to guidance counselors, that are designing coursework that can be given to high school or college students that really help them explore the science, the art, the philosophy, but also the business and the communication skills that are needed to be a successful chiropractor in today's world. So I'm just curious, what do you think of potentially investing in a project like this? Like, does it need to be one specific objective? Or is it okay to have it be this general, we need to establish pre-chiropractic? I'm just curious what your thoughts and points of view are on that.
I absolutely love the idea. And many of the colleges do have outreach, but as a national campaign and something to educate students on in their high school and pre-med opportunities education-wise, I think it's a phenomenal idea. The purpose of the foundation is for education, and this would fall right in its bailiwick of being able to really get that information into their hands and possibly have those communications, whether it's a Zoom meeting or something at the national level. We have a chiropractic student group that is very large, and they do a very good job. We absolutely adore all of our students that are in chiropractic college right now that are really studying hard so that they can graduate. We also have a program as soon as they graduate that they get a free membership with the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. So their whole education of consumers can be right at their fingertips, because what we don't want is people reinventing the wheel. So we have white papers, infographics, presentations, brochures, resource tip sheets, PowerPoint presentations, you name it, that's ready for you to go. But you're right. Here's an opportunity where we should be getting out to the high schools and building out a program of that nature. And it's definitely something that we at the foundation should be considering, and moving forward with that agenda, I think would be an outstanding opportunity to create more chiropractic progress.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah. I think that we need to ask new questions. What are some of the guiding questions that the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress is asking of when drafting agendas? I'm sure you start with some basic questions. What are some of the overarching questions that really guides the work of the foundation at this moment?
One of the pieces that we have to be considering as we draft pieces is, what is the healthcare system that we're in today? And from a pandemic to an epidemic, we're constantly trying to engage consumers in developing material that will help them through whatever they're currently going through. We have to think boots on the ground. We have to keep in consideration, what is the average consumer going through, and how do we help them find their way to a non-pharmacological option? And many really have never even considered, like chiropractic as an option, because it was never given to us. So being able to walk into the ER, have that ER doctor say, I understand you have severe low back pain. I want to give you information in that regards. And so our white papers are based on what's the now moment. And we have several that kind of hit different aspects. One is wellness in the workplace. And how does chiropractic fit on on-site, near-site, or shared site environments? One is just focused on, what is the adjustment about? Because people get all sorts of funny ideas of what we're going to do to them. So we have a paper just dedicated to the chiropractic adjustment. Many don't know that across the nation, the spinal manipulative therapy in chiropractic, we call that an adjustment, is performed 97% of the time by chiropractors. Yes, there are osteopaths out there that are doing it, but rarely, because their services are really now more being utilized in the primary care setting, because according to the American Medical Association, there's going to be a huge deficit by 2030 in the tune of up to 55,000 lack lacking primary care physicians to just go in and get their diabetes checked, or being able to talk to someone about their hypertension. So from that perspective, we're trying to focus our materials on what's the most important thing the consumer needs to know. And that leads us to talking about things they've never even considered, like selfie elbow. I didn't even know that that was something, but it is an actual diagnosis. And a lot of teenagers are having elbow pain from taking selfies, that twisted rotation that's ergonomically incorrect. And we're trying to help them. Tech neck is another. So it really has to do with what's the environment we're in? How are we going to help those consumers find options for their care, and then ensure that the information is both best practice and, if at all possible, well researched. Remember, some of these things, they're coming up as we go. So we're learning about just some of the COVID side effects of care that we need to be adopting into patients' education programs.
I'd love for you just to turn this more to a personal side. It sounds like you got involved in politics as a student and obviously have stayed involved in politics. What drives you? Because I guess what I'm asking is if I'm a prospective student entering into the chiropractic profession and I want to build context in their eyes that there's more ways that you can participate than just being in practice. You can also give back to to the college system by being a teacher, or you can get involved in chiropractic politics. What are some of the motivations that you had, and maybe just some advice that you could give to somebody who's earlier on in their path to really kind of build context of maybe some questions they should ask that might drive them towards politics, or just some of the impact that excites you about being involved in chiropractic politics?
This is going to make you smile, but I never wanted to be involved in politics at all. So what drove me into this is I wanted to help. And I hope that those that are listening, if you want to be involved in politics, go for it. If you're like me and I just wanted to make the world a better place, there's a famous quote that I would reflect on, and that is, do small things with great love. And it's from Mother Teresa. And it reminds me that I don't have to set my bar at the summit of Everest. I can set my bar at, today I'm just going to do something really nice for someone. And sometimes we get overwhelmed because we see a big picture and we can't see the small picture right in front of us. So I would say, ask yourself if you can do something to improve the environment. And there is a very, very well-respected man in our profession, and his name is Dr. Lou Sportelli. He's written several books. He is a phenomenal leader. And early in my career, I had the pleasure of sitting down with him and talking to him about chiropractic and making a difference. And his inspiration and motivation was, immerse yourself in something bigger than yourself, and you'll find true happiness. And I think those were the wisest words I have heard yet, because the more I get involved in helping, the more happiness I have. And I'm currently taking a course, and it's the science of well-being at Yale University. And I hope for all of you out there listening and thinking, oh, as soon as I get done with my chiropractic, I'm done with school. It doesn't work like that. You have to continue to learn and grow and stretch all the time. And what this course has taught me is that material things do not bring happiness. And the other portion of it, which will surprise many of your listeners, is that social media can be a detractor from your happiness. It steals from you. And what it steals from you is time. And oftentimes you're not seeing the truth when you get into social media, is you're seeing the best opportunity for other people's lives. And it's not necessarily the real picture. And I've started to have one day where I am completely social media free. And that's really helped me be more focused. That is my Saturday, which I think is my time to just let loose, no work, all play, and enjoying my two teenage boys. So, and my husband. So it's a really important aspect when you get into school, is to find something that you can participate in, because as you start to volunteer and give back, you're going to recognize that the fun is in the giving back and not in the taking. And that's where I was fortunate to have a mentor that really strung that chord really high for me. So when I got into school, I just wanted to help.
Hmm. Can you touch on the relationship that mentors and mentees, like what it's like to work with a mentor? Because one of the aims of Pre-Chiro is to create a mentor program, and we're trying to build structure around what those relationships would look like. Can you tease out some of the best parts of that mentor relationship that you had?
Absolutely. Well, to have a mentor, you have to be a great mentee. And that means that you're asking questions and you want to be the very best you can be. So when you come into a relationship, it's not what the mentor can give you, it's what you can create for yourself. And you cannot rely on one person, in my opinion, to be that everything for you. You're going to be hungry for an apple today, tomorrow it might be a grapefruit. So be creative in what you're trying to learn. Ask yourself a lot of questions because this is your experience. When a mentor comes into a relationship with a mentee, their relationship is designed on the efforts that the mentee is showing. And you can't be lazy as a mentee. You have to start thinking about asking the right questions. If you need more help in that area, I would advise you to actually go to a book called Ask. And it's brand new. It was just off the shelf in 2020 during COVID. And it's by Mark Victor Hansen. And basically, it's setting your road and your destiny for success. And how do you create questions that matter so that when you go to your mentor, someone that you're looking up to, that you want to get advice from, you're fully prepared. So first and foremost, prepare yourself. And then as a mentor, having mentored many, many students and associates in my practice, the key to success for a mentor is to think about the things that you've been doing, but verbalize them. So I remember when I started out as a intern, I just followed the doctor around and he was a very quiet man. So I started thinking, I don't know what he's doing. I need to ask more questions. And I could see that just by asking more questions, he saw that I was motivated. I was inspired to learn more. And then he started to actually just talk out loud. And it really helped me as I started to hear what he was doing, because if I didn't ask those questions, he never would have shared that. And so mentors need to be prepared to think backwards because we do things so methodically. And if you are an outstanding chiropractor, you have regimented yourself in a protocol like the Major League Baseball players that go up and they're ready to hit. They tap the base, they get into a routine. That's what a great chiropractor does. They have a routine. As soon as they open the door of their clinic, they know exactly what they're going to do, and they keep doing it over and over again. And that's where a mentee needs to figure out, what are you doing and why are you doing it? And the mentor needs to verbalize these things to them and say, this is why we do this protocol, because it enhances the experience of the patient. And here's some things that we always do before the patient leaves. We always make sure that they are working on their exercises and that we upgrade them, or we are moving their TheraBand color from yellow to blue because they're maximizing that potential. So I would encourage the mentee, ask, read questions, read more books, because the more you read, the more you'll learn. And for the mentor is really just being able to share with the mentee on what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you did it, what your experience was. Tell them stories. They love hearing the experiences that you have had in your experience over time in chiropractic.
Hmm. And we're getting there. So I'd just love for you to just share who the target audience for the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress is. Who do you aim to serve, and who are you wanting to attract more from? Like, which people would you like to see get involved, and what types of opportunities are there to get involved with the foundation?
Excellent. So let's start with one of the most important. The audience is you. And learning more about chiropractic is just coming to our social media pages, the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we are all about the education. So when you come to our website, f4cp.org, you'll be able to sign up for a newsletter and start the process now on learning more about chiropractic. We also have a podcast, which I think would be fun for those that are thinking more about chiropractic, and you get to hear it. It's called Adjusted Reality, Trusted by the Adjusted. And the benefit of that is you're going to hear from celebrities, healthcare influencers, and anyone that has thought leaders that has a spice of healthcare with an experience with chiropractic. And you'll start to see and generate all the enthusiasm. Like the fittest man in the world is Rich Froning, and I had a podcast with him recently, and I absolutely loved his story. And it inspired me, it motivated me to want to be more active, more in the participation of doing different things. And we also had Deepak Chopra, which was quite fabulous because he is extraordinary in meditation and mindfulness and well-being. So you'll never know what you're going to get out of the podcast, but I would highly recommend that because it's in anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes where you can just listen to someone who's very insightful and learn more about how chiropractic impacted their lives. Just recently as well, in speaking of how chiropractic impacted their life, was having a opportunity to speak to Mind Pump, and that is a fitness guru who has just taken it off the charts and talking about how to be active in your journey in fitness. So you'll never know, and it's a fun way to, if you have a break from study and you want to listen to something that's motivating, that would be a great place to start. Again, the foundation is all about setting you up for success. If you desire to be in chiropractic and you want to learn more, obviously this podcast is fantastic in that area. And then reaching out to see if we could send you some information on a career in chiropractic would be another way to do that. And also having the opportunity to talk to someone who is in chiropractic. And I think, Dr. Ben, you're doing a fabulous service to help them early so that they don't have to fumble through their undergraduate and they can have that almost ready, set, start. They're in the blocks and they're ready to go as soon as they graduate. So it'll be fun to work with you, Dr. Ben, and maybe we can create even more material that we can get on a national level to the high schools and to the colleges, so that those that are looking for a career in health or just looking to have a fun, exciting, monumental career, then chiropractic would be one of those choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Sherry, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast and just sharing from the heart what's up for you, what's important to you. And thank you for your commitment to just furthering and, in the name of the foundation, progressing the profession. So thank you for your work that you're doing. It's really important. And if there's anything we can do to collaborate in the future, I'm open to that. I'm open to further dialogue. I think that it's in the name of the students where my heart is at. They need us the most, and we need to show that we care. We need to really show that we care, because I think we do a great job of showing that we care for the society and for the world through the work that we do as a profession. But I think we really need to focus in on our students and make sure that they're going to be successful. So thank you so much for the work that you do.
My pleasure, and thank you for the work you do. I think it's monumental that we join forces and create even greater progress in the chiropractic profession for those young students who are looking for a career in chiropractic.
Mm-hmm.